Okay, good morning everyone. Today we are starting with the lecture number 2 of mobile communication and computing. Yesterday we have seen the initial part, the advantages and the limitations of mobile computing and communication. So in today's lecture we are going to study certain technical aspects that are used in the mobile communication. Okay, so to begin with, we will first see the frequency spectrum that is used for wired communication as well as wireless communication. Okay, so we'll start with the slide number 1, which is talking about the frequency for communication. So now spectrum, here the spectrum means the range of frequencies. Okay, so here the range of frequency means which are the range of frequency which are used for wired communication as well as for wireless communication. So as you can see in the given slide, the signals with the frequency, I'll show you it is starting from 300 megahertz. Okay, and up to several terahertz. Here you can see up to 300 terahertz signal. It can be shown here, which is used for the wired or wireless communication. Okay, so this use frequency range is divided into smaller bands. Here you can see these are known as bands 1, 2, and
सर
so on.
सर
Okay.
सर स्लाइड चेंज नहीं हुआ।
नहीं हुआ?
हाँ सर।
Okay, okay. Just a minute. Now you can able to see the slide.
यस सर यस सर।
Okay, okay. So here I'll start again. So in this particular diagram, it is a frequency diagram. Here in diagram, you can see that signals with the frequency which is starting from 300 megahertz. So here you can see 300 megahertz frequency is there. Here it is starting with the 300 megahertz frequency, and it goes up to almost 300 terahertz frequency. Okay, and this particular frequency range over from 300 hertz to 300 terahertz is divided into smaller bands. So if you can see, the VLF, LF are the bands. Okay, it is divided into frequency bands starting from very low frequency, that is 300 hertz, and goes up to extremely high frequency band, that is 300 terahertz, that we can see in the slide. Okay, so after extremely high frequency band, the naming convention changes. Okay, so the more specific terminology regarding to their behavior, the terminologies are used. Okay, means like suppose here you can see that this particular frequency band is starting from 300 hertz, where after that very low frequency, then low frequency, then medium frequency is there, high frequency there, very high frequency is there, then ultra high frequency is there, then super high frequency is there, extra high frequency there, and after that ultraviolet light is there. Okay, so here you can see the visible light spectrum or ultralight spectrum like UV rays. Then apart from that, इसके आगे भी है, which is not shown in the diagram, that is X-rays and the gamma rays. X-rays and the gamma ray spectrum is not shown in the particular diagram, but it is there. Beyond that, UV. Okay, so each of this smaller frequency band has associated applications area which are related to it. Okay, that means different application usage for that different frequency band are used for communication. मतलब इसका example is that suppose for example submarine. Okay, the submarines are used or submarine use low frequency signals because low frequency signals are penetrate to the water. Okay, then if you take the example of radio stations also. Okay, so analog radio stations use the medium frequency range, that is mid frequency. Okay, and if you consider a FM radio station, then FM radio station use the high frequency range, HF. Okay, so that way we use it. Apart from that, if we talk about the TV stations or TV channels, okay, so the TV station or TV channels, they utilize very high frequency range and ultra high frequency range, UHF. Okay, here analog TV channels use a very high frequency range, whereas the digital TV channel uses a ultra high frequency range. Okay, and digital, if you consider a digital audio broadcasting, that can also be done in the ultra high frequency range, that is UHF. Then if we talk about the satellite communication, then satellite communication applications use a super high frequency, okay, and extra high frequency range. Okay, so these are the application, and application wise the different kind of frequencies are used for running or for using those particular applications. Okay, so beyond that, whenever frequencies are available, they are not useful for long distance communication, because beyond extremely high frequency, signals can be absorbed by the atmospheric layers. Okay, and due to the presence of ozone layer and ionosphere, the which is above the earth surface, that absorb the signal, and beyond the extremely high frequency range, we don't have that particular kind of signals here. So signals having frequency larger than the extremely high frequency range are utilized for the point to point communication, and such signals are not mentioned in terms of their frequencies. Okay, rather they are mentioned in terms of their wavelength. Okay, now as you can see here, the frequency and the wavelength here, the frequency and the wavelength are interrelated by the particular formula. Here the formula is given, that is lambda is equal to c by f, where c is a speed of light and lambda is a wavelength and f is a frequency. Okay, so now since their wavelength is so small, they are mentioned in terms of wavelength rather than the frequency. So this is the frequency spectrum that we use for wired and wireless communication. Okay, now as you can see here, if you are choosing to deploy a particular application for wireless communication, then you have to transmit your signal in small frequency range. Suppose for example, if you want to deploy a TV station, then you can use super high frequency range or extra high frequency range. You cannot use medium frequency range or high frequency range. Here the reason is that the high frequency has different properties or advantages compared to the lower frequency. So each application area has a limited frequency range available to it. Okay, so band is available for particular application, and that's why there needs to be some regulations, or we need to follow that regulations, and that regulation which will be followed by the entire world. Okay, and in order to avoid the interference from other applications, we need to follow those. Suppose for example, Suppose, for example, if TV station signals are interface with the mobile communication signals, suppose, so we may see the mobile conversation, means audio conversation, on the TV station as well in terms of audio if the frequency get interfere. Okay, and we don't want that to happen, right? So that's why there need to be a central authority which will regulate that particular thing, that is the spectrum. And the spectrum allocation for a particular application area is control. Okay, and for that we need a particular controlling or a controlling authority. So here, who is that particular authority which is doing all those things? Okay, for that we will see a further slide. Okay, here the particular authorities or the central authority which is responsible for this is known as the International Telecommunication Union, that is ITU, which is located in Geneva and is responsible for the worldwide coordination of telecommunication activities. Okay, so this particular ITU regulates or coordinates this particular telecommunication activities, means which frequency should allocate to which application, that is decided by ITU. Okay, so even within the particular application area, different vendors or different users of particular application will use the different frequencies. Suppose, for example, in the case of TV channel, a ZTV will be broadcast or broadcasted with a particular frequency, whereas Sony TV may be broadcasted with some other frequency. Suppose in the case of mobile communication, okay, a service provider such as Reliance Jio, suppose, okay, that Reliance will be transmitting their signal on a particular frequency band or particular frequency. So likely a service provider such as suppose Airtel also, it may be transmitting on a certain different frequency. Okay, or in terms of suppose technology I'm talking. Okay, so in that case, suppose I'm talking about the GSM. So GSM subscribers will be or will use the particular frequency range, whereas CDMA subscriber will use or may use different frequency range. So not only that, beyond the application area, different countries follows the different frequency ranges. Though the standards are same, but they follows the different frequency ranges. For example, if you are talking about the India follows a different range for mobile communication, whereas America, USA follows a different frequency range for mobile communication. So ITU ने क्या किया है? Here ITU has split the world into 3 regions. One is European countries, then countries residing towards North Pole and the South Pole, and Far Eastern countries, regions or countries like Japan, Australia, South Korea, New Zealand, etc. So these 3 regions have different frequency range available to them for communication of same application area. Okay, so we will see the table which will come in the next slide. I'll show you. So which will talk about how particular applications or the same application which we use have or are using different frequencies or different frequency range in different geographical locations. Okay, so we'll see that. Okay, this is that particular table. So here you can see in the particular table, there are 3 regions are shown. One is the Europe, the second USA, and the third one is the Japan. These are the countries taken from 3 different regions. Okay, so in this particular table, you can see 3 different regions are there. One is the Europe, second is the USA, and the third one is the Japan. Okay, if you take an example of mobile communication, means I'm talking about the cellular phones. Okay. Okay. Can you able to see the slide now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Now see here, when I'm talking about the cellular phones, as an example, so the technology used in the cellular phone is the GSM. Okay. As you can see, GSM in Europe is using frequency which is ranging somewhere 890 to 915, 935. That is 900 megahertz range. 900 megahertz range. Here you can see frequency in the region, that is 900 megahertz. Whereas if you consider a second example of US, so whereas GSM in USA is using the frequency in the range of 1900 to 1800 megahertz. Okay. So here you can see that technology is same, but the frequency range used in the different countries are different for same applications. Okay, so that is mobile communication. So, and this is again, the applications are same, the overall network will be same, only the frequency or the band that are used in the particular countries are different. Okay, so that is mobile communication, and this is decided by the ITU to avoid interference for different countries as well as different applications. Like that, in the particular table you can see the different technologies are using different frequency spectrum, cordless phones, wireless LANs, and other technologies, RF control, and many other technologies are there, Bluetooth and many others are there. Okay, all these numbers are mentioned in the megahertz. Okay, so cordless telephone is using 885 megahertz to 887 range, megahertz range. Okay, in Europe, PACA or PACS is using somewhere 1850 to 1910 or 1910 to 1930 megahertz, in USA and so on. Okay, for Wi-Fi you can see IEEE 802.11 standard. They are following the 2400 to 2483, 2400 to 2483. Here bit different, wide range is there for the same Wi-Fi access. Okay, so like 2 gigahertz or 5.55 gigahertz or 5.0 gigahertz in USA. Even in the India also we are using same 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz family only. Okay, so ITU has decided these frequency ranges for different countries and different applications. Okay, an entire world has to follow all these regulations, and that is what about the frequency regulation. So we will move forward and we will see the basic part of mobile communication, and that basic part is nothing but the signal. Okay, so we'll see that. Okay, so signals is the next part that we're going to see. So signals are used for exchanging the information in the wireless communication. So here, for the communication purpose, the media is a free space. Okay, so our physical data is transmitted in terms of signals when we talk about the wireless communication or mobile communication. So what is a signal means? Okay, so a signal is nothing but a representation of a data in electromagnetic format. Signal is nothing but a representation of a data in electromagnetic format. Okay, so these signals are a function of time and location. Okay, which are the parameters of the signals basically. So first one is, here you can see the first one is amplitude. Okay, so here in the diagram you can see one sinusoidal waveform is drawn, which has three basic parameters noted into it, which are parameters of signal, we can say. So the first one is the amplitude, then there is a frequency, okay, and one which is mentioned in terms of pi here, okay, is a phase. Okay, so these are the three basic parameters which represent a signal. Okay, so these signals are classified based on their nature, like a continuous time or discrete time, or continuous value or discrete value signals. Okay, when we are talking about the continuous time and continuous value signals, that signals are analog signals, whereas discrete time and discrete value signals are digital signals. Okay, the understanding of this particular concept you will better understand in subject called DSIP, that is what is discrete signal is and what is analog signal is. Some part of it you might have seen in the ECCF subject in the second year. Okay, so that is what the signal is. So in general, all the signals can be summarized into a mathematical equation. Here in the at below you can see the mathematical equation, okay, which is AT sine of 2 pi ft. Okay, that is a particular equation where A is an amplitude of that particular signal, which is represented, okay, which is represented its height or a power, whereas F is representing the frequency of that particular signal, and phi is representing a phase of a signal. Okay, here by phase means we mean that is displacement from the original location. Okay, now here you can see initially signal, this is the particular signal, and now see the particular displacement for that particular signal that starts at a particular location, and if it's shifted from its original location, then there is a displacement, and between shifted version and the original version, that displacement is nothing but your phase shift. Okay, which is noted by phi value or phi. Then to transmit these signals you need a certain device, like converting our physical data into a signal and converting the physical signal into an electromagnetic wave. We need a certain device. The device is nothing but the antenna, because at the time of transmitting also we required antenna, at the time of receiving also you required a antenna. Okay, so the next part is antenna. We will see what is antenna is and what are different types of antennas are there. In the next slide we'll see that. Okay. So when we talk about antennas, okay, so antennas that couple electromagnetic energy, that is basically a signal, from a wire to space in terms of transmission, and in the case of reception, antennas convert electromagnetic energy from space to again wire. Okay, so antennas are most important part of the mobile communication system. So these antennas are of several types. The most basic type is isotropic radiator. The basic type is isotropic radiator. Okay, here the isotropic means what? So isotropic means it radiates electromagnetic energy equally in all directions. So isotropic radiator antenna can radiate signal equally in all directions. So x-axis, y-axis and z-axis, in all three directions it can transmit the energy equally. Okay, but such antenna is only a theoretical reference antenna. Again I am repeating, but such antenna is a only theoretical reference antenna. So such antenna do not exist in reality. Okay, so in reality antennas are always having a directive effects, we can say. That means they can transmit energy only in a particular direction, like a vertical direction or a horizontal direction. Okay, so the intensity of this radiation is not also equal in all directions. Like in vertical, it may be radiating with higher intensity, and in horizontal, it may not be radiating with the same intensity. So these patterns of intensity of radiation are called as a radiation patterns. Okay. Now on your screen, you can see the ideal isotropic radiation. Here you can see diagram is given, where radiator radiation patterns, as definition suggests, it radiates energy equal in all direction, that is in x, y and z, all three direction. Okay, so that is what the isotropic antenna is. Then the question arises, that is
Both
what
the
type of
diagrams are of the ideal isotropic radiator, or is one non-ideal and the other is ideal?
ideal means it ideal is, this is the diagram for ideal. Non-ideal is nothing like a concept of non-ideal isotropic. Ideal means isotropic radiator only.
So like both of them are the same, like
Yeah,
both.
both the diagrams are same. Only the view is given here is different for this particular diagram and the other diagram.
Okay.
Both are same. Both in both the particular diagrams, it is shown the isotropic radiators only. They are here. You remember one thing, in isotropic radiations, the particular radiations are, radiator is radiating energy in all direction equally. Okay,
Okay,
and
sir.
isotropic radiator is not actually available. This is a concept only. Physically, this type of antennas are not in use, so it is not possible to radiate energy in all direction for antennas. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then next we'll see that what type of antennas are used in the real life. We'll move to that particular concept. Okay, we'll see that in the next slide. Okay. Okay. Here you can see the simple antennas which can be used for wireless communication are known as dipoles. Are known as dipole. Okay, dipole is what, as the name suggests, has two poles, and the length of these antennas are dependent on frequency they are trying to transmit or receive. Okay, for example, dipole with length lambda by 4 or with the length lambda by 2, which is known as uh, Hertzian antenna. Here it is written, which is known as Hertzian dipole. Okay, so basically these antenna transmit or receive only specific frequency. Okay, and a signal with a frequency, suppose f, and a wavelength lambda, can use this particular antenna. Okay, so if you are given a particular antenna, you can calculate what kind of signal it can transmit, the radiation pattern of this particular dipoles as shown in the particular diagram. This is the top view. Okay, that is the rightmost diagram of your screen. Here you can see the top view. This is the top view of radiation pattern of a simple dipole. If you look at the particular view from sky, it shows how the radiation patterns of a dipole will look like. Okay, the YZ view, that is a second view, that is side view or side plane, that is YZ plane of the traditional pattern of a dipole, is actually a front view, or front view will look like. If you look at from the front, the traditional pattern will look like this. And if you look at the radiation pattern from the side, so this is a side view, that is XY plane, it will look like this XY plane, this one. So from this, you can see it is not radiating with equal power in all directions. Okay, you can see the small circles, one circle and a second circle, though it is a dipole antenna. Here also, this one and this one circle, and here it is from top, it will show the complete circle. It will look like this. The small circles are known as lobes, LOBs, BES, lobes. So this one and this one, these are known as lobes. So each antenna has a particular lobe and transmission lobe associated with it. So these dipoles are having this radiation pattern, and since its name is dipole, it has two lobes. Okay, so we'll see the different types of antennas. This is the one type of antenna. Now here, similar to the dipole antenna, there are further types of antennas used in the wireless communication, like directed and sectorized antenna. Here you can see the director antenna and the sectorized antenna. Particularly in mobile communication, directed and sectorized antennas are used. Okay, in the first diagram you can see that is of this is, I will give you the number. This is the diagram number 1 and this is the diagram number 2. Okay, so you can see in the first diagram the radiation pattern for directed antenna is shown. So this is the top view for that directed antenna.
सर आप कुछ शो कर रहे हो क्या? हमको सिर्फ पीपीटी दिख रही है.
पीपीटीपी में लिख रहा हूँ, पीपीटीपी लिखा हुआ नहीं दिख रहा है
सर नहीं
नहीं,
लिखा
सर
हुआ
लास्ट
नहीं
टाइम
लिखा हुआ।
मुझे दिख नहीं रहा था लिखा हुआ।
अच्छा, पेन नहीं दिख रहा है, मैं लिख रहा हूँ।
हाँ
ओके, मैं लिख रहा हूँ मतलब आई एम मार्किंग, जस्ट मार्किंग। अभी तो अलग से डायग्राम कुछ नहीं बनाया है, आई एम जस्ट मार्किंग। ओके
sir, but we can't see what you are marking.
ओके। ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? Okay, I'll check it out. But what I'm saying, you just understand, because top, when I'm talking about the top view here, the diagram for top view is given. I'm just marking that diagram. I'll check it out what is happening with the pen, because I'm drawing with the pen and I don't know why it is not showing right now, but I'll check it out. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay. I'll troubleshoot that thing. Okay. Till now, I haven't drawn any new diagram, so you don't worry about it. Just I'm explaining the diagrams which are there in the slide. Okay. So here in the upper part, director antenna is the first diagram, whereas the sectorized antenna, I'm considering it as a second diagram. Now that you keep in mind. Okay. So here, if you see the directed antenna, where the directed antenna is written, from that side, the first is the top view, next to it is the side view, and next to is the side view, top view, then front view. So this particular YZ plane is the front view, and XY plane is the side view. Okay. So that is a directed antenna. As the name suggests, it radiates energy only in a particular direction. So hence its name is directed antenna. Then if isotropic radiator is not available, practically we know that. So then how can we radiate the energy equally in all direction? So if we cannot do that, then what we can do, we can try to reach closer to that particular radiation pattern. Kaise karte, that we'll see. That can be achieved by sectorized antenna. Okay, that can be achieved with sectorized antenna. Now if you see the diagram of sectorized antenna, there are two different diagrams for sectorized antenna are shown. The below part of your slide, where the sectorized antenna is written, from that if you just move towards your left, the first one is the top view for 6 sector antennas, and the second diagram is showing the top view for 3 sector antennas. Okay. So here in this particular sectorized antenna, in this particular type of antenna, it radiates energy in terms of smaller lobes in a different sector. Okay. So the 3 sector antenna radiates energy in 3 direction. So the lobes are shown here like a circle. You can see the top view of 3 sector is given in the slide. The top view, just look at the diagram for top view 3 sector sectorized antenna. Here you can see the 3 circles are shown. The 3 circles are nothing but the 3 lobes. Okay, that means this particular antenna here, the radiation, it radiates the energy in 3 direction, whereas 6 sector antenna radiates energy in the 6 direction. Okay, so their lobes are shown in a particular different manner, because here you cannot able to see the circles because total 6 lobes are there, and here the particular antenna is transmitting or radiating energy in 6 different directions. Okay, so so though isotropic antenna is practically not possible, we can use the sectorized antenna, and we can develop a picture like that. We are using isotropic antenna. Okay, so if you see if you increase the number of sectors, that is if you increase the number of lobes, the shape of the radiation pattern becomes closer to the radiation pattern of a isotropic antenna. Here you can see 6 lobes are there, then it can looks like it is radiating in all direction. Okay, so that is that radiation patterns is somewhat matching to isotropic antenna. So these are the more practical antennas used for mobile communications. Okay, apart from that, some more antennas are there. So nowadays more advanced antennas are also used. Like we can combine 2 or more antennas to improve the reception for negating the effect of multipath propagation. Okay, so such antennas are known as multi-dimensional antennas. Okay, or multi-element antenna arrays. Okay, so here one term, that is multipath propagation, is not known to you. We will see that in the upcoming lecture. We have that particular part. So in the particular slide, you can see that the particular antenna, which is having which is known as multi-dimensional antenna and multi-element antenna array, can be used to improve the reception. Okay, so here in the slide, you can see at the bottom of the slide, two diagrams are shown. Okay, here if you see the left diagram, okay, so two dipoles are combined, lambda by 4 and lambda by 2, together to create a multi-element antenna array. And in the right diagram, you can see the three antennas are combined together, lambda by 2, lambda by 2 and lambda by 2, each with the length of lambda by 2 and lambda by 4, with the spacing of, in first diagram, that is with the spacing of lambda by 2, and in the second diagram, length of the dipole is lambda by 2 and spacing is also a lambda by 2. So because of this, we can able to negate the effect of multipath propagation. Okay, because when the signal travel through the free space, they get degraded, and to avoid a loss of data in such situation, we use a combination of such antennas. And more advanced solution for this is a smart antenna, okay, or smarter antennas, we can say. So in smarter antennas, these antennas can adapt to changes in the radiation power. Okay, it changes in transmission conditions and can use many signal propagation effects, so that it is known as a smart antennas. So that antennas can adapt the changes in sending power, the signal propagation effects, and the different transmission conditions we can change and we can check out. And that type of antennas are known as smarter antennas or smart antennas. Apart from that, the one more advanced technologies which is used nowadays, that is MIMO or MIMO antenna, that is multiple input and multiple output antenna. So in the actual diagram of a dipole, you might have seen dipole का diagram, अगर आपको याद है तो dipole का means I'm talking about this particular diagram. Okay, these are the dipole. Okay, okay, so here there is a feed, it is known as a feed between the two poles of the antenna. So this feed is used for providing electromagnetic energy. So in MIMO systems, antennas, the particular feed is provided with multiple inputs for transmitting purpose as well as from receiving purpose. Multiple outputs are used in MIMO antennas. So that's why they are called as a multiple input and multiple output antennas, where feed means the lambda by 2 and lambda by 4 different inputs are used as well as different outputs are generated through it. And it is, if you go to the details of it, nowadays IEEE 802.11n, the different HSPA, WiMAX and LTE communications or LTE generations, they are using such kind of antennas for providing maximum coverage and for providing the higher data rate. Okay, so this kind of antennas are introduced. Okay, so use of several different antennas and transmitters nowadays. So this is particularly used for achieving the higher data rate using the same amount of power. So now you don't have much detail of it, it is just an introduction part, so we are not going to see in detail of it. So this is just an introduction part that we need to understand what are the different types of antennas. The execution of that particular antenna is a part of communication, and detailed study is there in electronics and telecommunication department. They have all these things, antennas and its antenna and wave propagation, the subject named as antenna and wave propagation they have in their study. So we just need to overlook the particular thing, so we are not going to see details of it. Okay, so in short, MIMO antennas can be used in the case of high data transmissions like Wi-Fi, LTE, or high speed packet access. Okay, so this is what the types of antennas. Okay, so we'll move further, and we have a small thing, that is signal propagation ranges. Okay, so we know that a signal will travel along the particular direction because signal is carried out by the physical medium called as a conductor or wire. But in wireless network, basically there is no wire is to determine the direction of propagation, you can say. And that's why it becomes important to define the range within which the signals can be propagated. So there are basic three ranges given. As you can see here, the diagram, you can see the innermost green circle is known as a transmission range. That means if a sender is at the center of the innermost circle, then it is transmitting the signal. Then communication is possible only within the transmission range. Okay, because this is the range within which signals can be successfully detected and received. Okay, so transmission range is the most useful range for communication. It has very low amount of errors involved in it. Then the outer circle, which is denoted by the blue color or filled with the blue color, that circle is known as a detection range. If a sender is transmitting certain signal within the detection range, those signals can be detected, but the contents of those signals cannot be retrieved. So communication is not possible here. For example, suppose let's say somebody is shouting, let's say up to a certain distance, that what he is saying can be easily heard, but after a certain distance you can know that he is shouting, but what he is saying, that cannot be understood, that we know. So this is what the second detection phase or detection range. Okay, so in this range, now the third outermost circle, which is filled with the gray color, light gray color, okay, which is known as the interference range. So in this range, neither detection of signal is possible nor communication is possible. So in this particular range, signals become so weak as they travel the larger distance, they become so weak that we are not able to detect their presence also. So rather they get interfered or mixed with the atmospheric noises. So this is known as a interference. Okay, so today we'll stop here. That is what all for today, what we have seen.